Hello and welcome to this lesson from Simple-ESL, and in this lesson we're going to look at mastering time expressions, so using from, until, for, over, during, while and meanwhile to talk about lengths of time, periods of time. By the end we'll be able to write about someone we know and use time expressions to describe different events from that person's life or our own lives. So why are time expressions important? They help us to organize events in a clear way. They make storytelling and descriptions easier to follow. So, for example, I studied at university from 2009 to 2011. During that time, I worked part-time at a bookstore. Meanwhile, my friends studied abroad. So this gives you an idea of what was happening, when it was happening, the lengths of time that these things were happening, and who to. If you'd like more practice during the lesson, do use our QR code below. This will take you to our Patreon page. At the moment, for the month of February, we have got a deal running. So from the 8th of February to the 8th of March, you can get 50% off if you use the code shown below. But let's begin the lesson. So from until, this shows the start and the end of a period of time. So something starting, but then something finishing. She worked at the bank from 2010 until 2018. We know that she started 2010. She worked for 8 years because she finished in 2018. So it shows there is an end to the process. We have for or over. We can use these interchangeably, really, depending on the situation. But it shows duration, how long something happened. So we don't necessarily give the start date, but we say how long that we were doing a thing. So for example, he lived in Canada for 5 years. He lived in Canada for 5 years. We could say she travelled a lot over the summer. And we can swap these round. He lived in Canada over 5 years. However, this is less common. We would often use for. And we could also say she travelled a lot for the summer. However, once again, this is a bit peculiar in English. I would say using over the summer for 5 years. This is just smoother. During. Now, during indicates something that's happening within a period. So, for example, during childhood, during my college studies, I met her during my college years. So it indicates something happening within a set time frame, maybe a life event or something like this. Whereas while, this is used to describe two things happening at once. So simultaneous actions. While she was studying, he was working. So two things that are happening at the same time. And meanwhile, similar to while, this shows something what was happening at the same time. So often used to show what else is happening at the same time. He was cooking, meanwhile she was setting the table. So it shows something that was happening at the same time, so often in the past. I would like us to try and fill in these blanks. So find the correct time expression or the best one. She worked at the hospital 2015 2020. I'll give you 3, 2, 1. She worked at the hospital from 2015 until 2020. So we know as we have the two gaps, from and until, and it shows a start point and an end point. We stayed in Spain 2 weeks. Now, is it for or over? We stayed in Spain over 2 weeks, or we stayed in Spain for 2 weeks? The better answer would be for 2 weeks. So we stayed in Spain for 2 weeks. He broke his leg, the football match. So this is something that happened whilst an activity was happening. So what do we think? During. When did he break his leg? Well, what was he doing? He was playing football. So it was during the football match that he broke his leg. So 2 activities at the same time. She was reading, her phone rang. What do we think? While she was reading, her phone rang. Fantastic. And let's go on to our final example here. John was fixing his car. His brother was cleaning the garage. So 2 things happening at the same time. Do we think it's while or meanwhile? Which one sounds better? Well, we've already finished the sentence, and meanwhile is usually used at the beginning of the sentence or to continue the phrase. So we'll use meanwhile. Meanwhile, his brother was cleaning the garage. How about these sentences? Can you rewrite them using different time expressions? We may need to change a number of things in each sentence. She studied at university between 2012 and 2016. How can we use from and until? Well, we need to look here and we need to add something here. What do we think? She studied at university from 2012 until 2016. I met him when I was on holiday, and we're going to use during. I met him when I was on holiday. What do we think? Some things have got to change in this sentence. I met him during my holiday. So this makes the sentence shorter as well. We have to contract it. And this is the best way to describe how you met him. When did you meet him? During my holiday. She was working at the same time I was shopping. I'm going to use meanwhile. What would we change? Are we looking here where we can make a change? She was working. Meanwhile, I was shopping. So we can see how these phrases can change the sentences, sometimes shorten a sentence, and can be used to describe different periods of time. And I'd like you to take a look at this independent practice task. So I'd like you to try and write a short paragraph, about 6 to 8 sentences. And this can be about a friend or a family member or even a famous person. Try to use the phrases around time that we have used today. So from, until, for, over, during, while, and meanwhile, and use it to describe the life events of that person. Here is my example. My sister studied at university from 2015 until 2019. During her studies, she worked part-time at a cafe to support herself. She lived in London for 4 years before moving back home. Over the summer holidays, she travelled to different countries and explored new cultures. While she was studying for her final exams, I was preparing for my own school tests. Meanwhile, our parents were planning a surprise graduation party for her. After finishing university, she found a great job and started her career. So this is a great example of how you can use all of those phrases and we can see the different periods of time and when things happened. When did she study at university? From 2015 until 2019. What did she do while she was studying? Well, during her studies, she worked in a cafe. How long did she live in London for? For 4 years. And what did she do in the summer? Well, over the summer, she travelled. And what else did she do during her studies? While she was studying, I was preparing for my school tests at the same time. So we can see how things all work together. We have meanwhile. This is at the same time as this previous thing, the same time as studying for the final exams and me prepping for my own tests. Parents were planning a graduation party. So it's very clear when and where everything is happening. And if you'd like a bit more practice, why not try sharing this last paragraph you wrote with a friend or a partner? I want you to react to the story using expressions that we learned in the previous lesson and some ones that are here. So if the story is interesting, you can say, that is interesting. You could ask a further question. What did they do next? This can lead on to over the summer, during, things like this. Wow, they worked there for so long. So if they worked there for a long time, you could say this. What were you doing while they were traveling? So these are expressions we can use and ways we can engage with the story and get more information. So we want to listen actively and use follow-up questions to keep the conversation going. And if you'd like some more practice, we do have in the QR code here our worksheets. It's also in the description below. And for February, we have a little deal. This is to celebrate my birthday. The 8th of February to the 8th of March, you can get 50% off all of our lessons using the code shown here, E7049. And today we learned how to use phrases like from and until to show the start and the end of a thing, for or over to describe the duration, during to show something that's occurred within a set time frame. We also have while to connect simultaneous actions, and meanwhile to show events that are happening at the same time. So you go away and practice those activities, maybe do a worksheet, and I will see you in the next lesson. Have a wonderful day.